Yes. PODCASH. It's the podcast about money. Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go. Welcome back to the first and last episode of PODCASH. I'm your host, Ajani Harrison, and today we're going to talk about MARTA. Currently, MARTA doesn't have the best reputation, and there are some key reasons. So I took to the streets to figure out what people actually thought about MARTA. What are your thoughts around MARTA, and how would you...
Papa Elf isn't here right now.
Okay. Well, we just want to ask you a couple questions about how...
Who are we talking to?
about your MARTA experience, okay? So how would you describe your experience on MARTA?
Poop.
Okay, can you be more descriptive?
No.
Thank you. Well said. And to get down to the root of why MARTA is the way it is, we have to start from the beginning. In 1965, the Georgia Assembly voted to create MARTA. It was supposed to be the transit system for Atlanta and the 5 metro counties: Cobb, Clayton, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett. However, only the city of Atlanta, Clayton, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett passed the referendum allowing participation in MARTA. In 1968, the referendum to actually fund MARTA failed, and in 1971, voters in Fulton and DeKalb counties passed a 1% sales tax increase to pay for MARTA operations, while Clayton and Gwinnett counties rejected the tax referendum. Sales tax is a tax on the things that you buy. To this day, Gwinnett is still outside of the MARTA system. The initial plan intended to go into Smyrna, Norcross, and to Forest Park. However, that is not the case today. In 1971, MARTA purchased the bus-only Atlanta Transit Company, and in 1972, MARTA was now in charge of both rail and bus transit for the metro area. Construction on the heavy rail system began in 1975. The reason that these referendums didn't go through is because people weren't providing an incentive to allow MARTA to come through their neighborhoods. This relates to principle number 4. People respond to incentives. Atlanta is very much a car city and was still true back then. People weren't willing to give up the car, and more importantly, white people in Gwinnett and Cobb counties didn't want black and poor people to come into their neighborhoods or have access to their neighborhoods. This also ties into principle number 2 and opportunity cost. In the second principle, it states that the cost of something is what you give to get it. And the cost for MARTA was not only the tax, but also the loss of private transportation or the threat of losing private transportation, and more importantly, black people in predominantly white neighborhoods. Opportunity cost is what one person gives up if they choose one option over another. And in this situation, people believe they would be giving up a lot more if they chose MARTA. The vote in Clayton County significantly impacted black and poor people because they could not get access to jobs in Atlanta since there wasn't public transportation available. This proved to be a poor decision, and the problem got so bad that Clayton County was essentially forced to allow MARTA in 2014 when a referendum to dedicate a 1-cent sales tax passed. During the beginnings of MARTA, the Georgia government spent all their money in the highway system and not a penny on MARTA, which, by the way, went right through black neighborhoods. The government could either focus their money on a system that people already liked or take a chance on a new system that seemed a little promising. In other words, the government faced trade-offs. To get an established highway system, they would lose a promising new form of transport. It was also more efficient to handle the money like that instead of investing time and effort into MARTA. This is the efficiency versus equity trade-off. The government could have been more equitable to everyone in Atlanta, but decided not to. This caused black and poor people to need MARTA more, but without the necessary funding for MARTA, people couldn't get anywhere. This topic touches supply and demand. There was a demand for MARTA in Black and poor communities, but not the supply of MARTA to make a positive impact in those communities. We'll be right back after the break. And now a word from our sponsor, Renata Bliss.
Hi, I'm Renata Bliss and I'm your freestyle dance teacher.
Thank you, and let's get back into the show. So MARTA clearly hasn't been racially and economically equitable in the past, but what is happening now in MARTA that could make the situation better? Well, to start, the counties that voted against MARTA in the past are much more diverse nowadays, and people are realizing the benefits of MARTA. However, this doesn't completely guarantee MARTA will expand, because on March 19th, 2019, the third transit referendum failed in Gwinnett, with 54.32% of the vote being no to expand MARTA to Norcross. This is also after a study in 2016 stated that MARTA's expansion plans along the Clifton Corridor, I-20, and Georgia 400 could pump $5.2 billion, not million, billions into the economy. The transit expansions also could mean 45,000 new jobs and $166 million in additional annual wages by 2040. This means MARTA is far from diminishing returns, which is the point at which money invested in something is more than what you get out of it. MARTA also has recently started the More MARTA program that began after the November 2016 vote in the city of Atlanta, where residents overwhelmingly approved a half-penny local sales tax that started plans for the largest investment in transit enhancements and expansion in 40 years. This won't mean much for residents that live outside of Atlanta, but the addition of light rail throughout Emory, Greenbrier, and the Beltline will certainly make the streetcar more of a useful transportation option. There is also transit-oriented development happening around MARTA Transit. MARTA describes transit-oriented development as development that is vibrant, pedestrian-friendly, and genuinely integrated with transit. You might see businesses and/or housing being made near existing stations. MARTA says on their website that these developments help promote economic growth and public transit ridership while boosting quality of life for people all across Atlanta. MARTA also gives a detailed list of each station and their profile about potential development, which you can also find on their website. For example, King Memorial, the closest station to the new school, is an area with a lot of economic growth and has the potential for development in its unused parking lot. Things are looking up for MARTA, and the economic benefits are clearly there. Thank you for listening, and I'm your host, director, producer, writer, and all of the above, Ajani Harrison. Goodbye.